Let me start it off, Gary, real quick. Yeah, just certainly so thankful for these two, but I just want you to understand like how connected and tough this group is. We have really preached that from day one, and I thought that was on full display tonight. Maybe we lacked a little bit of that early, but it took everything we had from a toughness and a togetherness thing to come back, win this game against a really good team who's arguably playing some of the best basketball in the league right now. So these two guys certainly lead the way for us and have now for a significant time. And we've talked about that after games. So I'm so thankful for these guys, their leadership, and thankful for players stepping up and making plays. How about that?
Question for Bruce. How often is the bank open?
I ain't try to shoot out the bank. That's just my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I just told myself just keep having faith, keep pushing through, and he came up big for me. So I just give him all the glory. So.
A more serious note, just you played all 40 minutes in this game, 21 points in the second half. What kept willing you forward, and what spurned your offense in the second half?
We just needed this win. We got a ranked opponent in the house, and we came short a couple times. And I just told our guys just to keep shooting wide open shots. Just keep making plays, and we got a lot of gamers on our team, so they made big time plays over and over again. Even though we had mistakes, so they just moved on to the next play and showed up as a win.
We can give them the day off for those 40 minutes if we need to tomorrow.
For you, Jake, you talked about this team being a different team from the first time you guys played Maryland, and just is the fight you talked about responding to the 17-point deficit that you had? Is that a major part of that? And can you just elaborate on what fuels this team in those moments?
I think yes. I think absolutely. Our toughness, and this group is connected, and I don't mean for that to sound cliche, and it may be hard to see something tangible like that at times, but that it really is about our toughness and how connected we are. And we're playing with better attention to detail. We're playing, with more smarter possessions, and we've been doing that consistently. We talk a lot, and we've been doing it for most of the season about growing. I always felt like this team had the ability to grow throughout the course of the season. And we talked about it, right, just recently, that we weren't done growing, like we haven't arrived yet. And so I think we're seeing that. We're seeing real growth, certainly with some guys individually, but we're also seeing it as a collective group. And, it's that time of year.
Micah, they were, I think, 15 of 20 from 2 in the first half, and they were like 5 of 23 in the second half. What did you guys do differently defensively that enabled you to cut down some of their easy looks and then allow yourselves the chance to claw back into the game?
We just kept fighting. In the first half, they was making some tough shots, but we also didn't make it tougher for them. So the second half, the guards fought through the screens, the big, did their job, and that cost them miss some shots. At halftime, coach was telling us we just got to play harder, play with more heart. So I feel like the group of guys that we have, we responded to that, and we went out there to play harder.
A couple of teams, and you've played a lot of basketball. You're playing a team that beat you pretty soundly when you played them. You're down 17, and they're hitting tough shots. What does it take for a team not to fall apart in that moment? And what has this team learned about those moments to where you guys can come on the right side of that?
It's a lot of things that goes into that. But our willingness to win, the toughness that we have as a team, like Coach said, connectedness, that takes all apart. Just giving yourself up for the team is one of the biggest things you can do to help win. So, man, that's what everybody did tonight.
I thought, just if I can add, Adam, I thought you saw certainly these guys played extremely well. Quez's defensive possession at the end of the first half, Sean Stewart getting some 50-50 balls, Devin's, Evan Mahaffey having a big-time defensive stop. You go through every single player, and there was something impactful from an energy and toughness standpoint in that stretch, and certainly these guys led the way with that. I thought, John had some really good, tough defensive ISO possessions. There was contributions from a toughness standpoint from everybody, and Mike is right. It took everybody.
Not to bring up the negative, but what, and whoever wants to answer this, but
Well, you don't
what,
have to do it.
well, I know, but what wasn't going well early that got fixed, even in the run in the first half, to kind of cut that deficit?
Well, yeah, I'll start with that. I think because of how good they are, you let some guys get some easy looks early, and now all of a sudden, when you're challenging shots better, they make them, right? And I thought that's the way it started. Like, they got some good looks early, and our ball screen coverage just we weren't executing well enough. Sometimes it was us not fighting through the screen well enough and creating space for them. They were hitting the short roll, and sometimes the level of our forward wasn't good enough. So there were some little details there, certainly, but I think some of it was they were able to get a rhythm offensively, and that's a really good team. And when you get a rhythm like that, there were some tough shots that we challenged that they made in the first half, but we made them do that right consistently for the rest of the game, and ultimately, it was enough to now force them. And we talked about at halftime, like, we have to force them to miss. We can't hope they miss. We got to force them to miss. And I thought we really did a good job of that in the really the kind of back end of the first half and second half.
For the players, you guys have played bigger teams, including this Maryland team, before. When you're facing a team that just has more size, and you're out without Aaron, obviously, tonight, who gives you size, how do you combat that in other ways? What works?
You just gotta find a way. I wish I can just tell you like it's like a box out or like a scheme. Like, you just gotta go get the ball at the end of the day. And I just feel like we wanted it more than them. So, like, at the end of the day, if you tell we hold each other accountable, tell each other, yell at each other, we need this rebound, and everybody respond the correct way. Nobody gets mad, nobody in their feelings. We just go get it the next possession. We did.
I thought both these guys, right? Sometimes when their size got it, we were there waiting, and we clawed it out. Like, we had some steals when they got some of those rebounds or the balls being knocked around. And both these guys, and we've talked about it, their defensive rebounding is important for us, and they contributed significantly to that. So that's one way, is you get in there and you scrap, right? And he brings it down, you take it. Both these guys had deflections and steals. So I think that's part of it, but it is some good old fashioned fight and heart.
With 2 minutes left, you were down 15 points in the first half with 2 minutes, and then over that span, you went 6-0 run there. What did that do to kind of set the tone for this comeback? I guess you mentioned that maybe you guys weren't always together earlier in the first half. What did that little run right there do to set the tone, and what did you talk about in halftime about that run that maybe would lead to something in the second half?
Well, I think it kind of validated what we talked about. We said, like, hey, let's get this thing to single digits, and we're not going to make up this whole deficit at once. So let's get it to single digits, and we did that. Then we talked about in the second half, kind of the same thing. Like, let's get this thing down to a couple possessions going into the last segment of the game, and then, like, we're ready to go win it now. Like, maybe we didn't do that earlier in the season. We're ready to go win it now, and so I think that was a big part. But I felt like the momentum shifted at the end of the first half, and again, it was some of those plays we talked about. That really just some like tough individual plays.
For either of you guys, how much did it motivate you looking at the film of the first time you played Maryland? Like, did it get at your pride a little bit to say, like, we're a better team than this? And did that motivate you at all in the prep for this game?
For me and my team as well, I watched the film over twice, 3 times over at least. I got frustrated every single time because I knew it was better than that. So, man, even so at halftime, I was telling them, like, we're going to win this game. We're going to win this game. I'm telling them we're going to find a way. I'm just happy that we all just stuck together and we believed in each other and found a way to win. So, man, even in the timeout with the 4 minutes left, the last minute timeout, I'm telling the team that we're going to find a way. We're going to win this game. We're going to win this game. They're going to break down. So, I mean, obviously they're a great team, but I'm just so proud of the guys today.
And then for anybody, Illinois forced you guys to take a lot of tough twos. And in the second half today, they took a lot of tough twos in the second half. How much of that was by design? And do you think you executed that pretty well? Because I think they took, of their 28 shots in the second half, it was 6 threes and 22 twos.
We felt like guarding the three-point line was really important coming into this game. I mean, you look at the last handful of games, they've been shooting the cover off the ball. And really, those three guards that they start are all capable of hitting multiple threes. Our defense is built and designed to, try to force challenge tough twos. It's certainly a lot easier said than done. I also think, sometimes you can learn on the other side too. We didn't execute offensively at times, too many tough twos. We talked about that, watched it, and it's a learning lesson for our defense too, right? I think it can apply to both ways. And that's what I've just been so impressed with this group is we've been able, win or lose, we have been able to grow and we have been able to learn and we have been focused. Our attention to detail keeps getting better. But they did, they were really good from two. Certainly some of those were too easy of looks in the first half, but they also made some tough ones, in the first half, some tough jumpers. And we just felt like if we made them do that the whole game, because we are a good defensive team, that we would be able to get a chance to get back in this thing and get a win.
Yeah, that last offensive possession, just what was the look that you guys wanted to get? I'd imagine that a step back, banked in three maybe wouldn't be the most ideal look, but I guess what did you want on that? I guess that last offense possession.
That was exactly what the coach called, was a step back, banked three. Yes. We were trying to get some movement in the middle third with Bruce with the ball. They switched to zone. Looked like they were maybe trying to switch back to man, but ultimately I stayed in zone, or at least kept their guards up, anticipating, right? I think a similar action. So that was the look. They went zone. We called a zone play. They had a guard kind of change sides, so we just stuck with what we drew up in the timeout. And yeah, I wish I could tell you in coaching, you draw an action and then you draw right after the action. You're like, here, Bruce, go shoot a step back bank shot. Like, it just, players make plays, ultimately, and players read the game. And I think a lot of times you just want to give guys a chance to be successful. And, these guys were. I mean, some of Micah's plays in the second half, tough baskets when we needed them. It certainly doesn't always come down to the last shot. That was a critical one. But yeah, that was exactly what the coach drew up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, just kind of going off that, just that 3-minute, I guess, phase when Bruce is just like hitting shot after shot. Is there like a balance between just maybe putting him in isolation and getting him in space between like that and maybe running an actual play? Like what is, I guess, the balance between that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's a lot of things to think about. There's, maybe creating advantages, right? Instead of just isolation situations, creating advantages, whether it's, through different movement principles or screening actions. And then, I think at times you want a simplicity, so there's a comfortability specifically at the end of the game, sticking with things that we work on. But, when a guy has it going, like Micah did at Purdue, right? Like, it's very simple for me. Kind of give the ball to the guy who's got it going. Like, I don't really need to overcomplicate it, I think. But you gotta define spacing a lot of times. At the end of the game, the floor tends to shrink a little bit. But I think, we practice end-of-game situations a lot. And, I think that's why we've been able to execute so well lately. But you're certainly thinking about certain things, but again, players make plays.
For Jake and for Micah. First, Jake, you said it's that time of year. What is it about this team that you think they're a tournament team? Why do you think this is a tournament team for both of you?
You want to go first, or you want me to go?
Yeah, I go first. Our willingness to fight. We don't give up. The urgency we play with, how connected we are. We're catching the groove in the right moment. I think we won 5 out of the last 6, 5 or something like that. So we refine the groove. We just keep getting better. We're learning through wins, and that's the biggest thing. Learning through wins is really big. So, we keep at this pace, man. We're gonna have a good run in March into April.
Yeah, I think we have both the makings offensively and defensively of every time we step between the lines being able to win, and that it really doesn't matter who we go against. Now, as I've stated, every game in the Big Ten is hard. We got a really quick turnaround against another team who is playing really well, right? So we've just made it about us. And we talked about, like, this is what we've worked towards. It's certainly, we've dealt with a lot this year. 5 one-possession games in a row, first time in my basketball life I've ever experienced that. And, we've dealt with, lineup issues all season, guys being out, like all that. And we've grown, we're playing well, we still have room to grow. That's what we haven't arrived yet. This is another great step forward. But we have the makings both offensively and defensively that when we step out on the court, because of our toughness and connectedness, that there's not a team we can't compete with. So I think that's why. And we talked about it. We've worked hard since June, and we've earned the right to play meaningful games this time of year. These guys have earned it. And so it's nice to be in that spot.
Last one. Don't let Bruce sitting next to you affect your answer here. What do you get more excited for, the 3 or the shot clock violation defense?
Whew, man. I just get excited in general, typically. So, but I think that the defensive possessions we had down the stretch, and I trust our defense to help us win games. But I also know what the work that this guy puts in every single day, and I know how much he cares about winning and how much he wants to win for Ohio State. And so when that shot went in, I was probably, I maybe didn't yell as loud. I was probably maybe a little prayer there at the same time, but I was just so happy for him because he's earned it. He's earned it.
Like you said, you had momentum at the end of the first half. How were you able to keep the momentum throughout the second half for anyone?
It's definitely hard to try to keep momentum for 20 minutes, especially against a good team where they have multiple players that can have a big night. And I feel like us as a team, due to adversity with the foul troubles, and we just found a way. Like I said, there was really no scheme for real. I wish I could tell y'all, but we just kept playing hard. And sometimes you just playing hard, the ball just finds you, and good things just happen. And we kept playing hard. I feel like we were smarter. We'll play more tougher than them, and we got the win today.
I'll answer. Can we let these guys go so they can get? You guys need them for anything else? All right, let me answer that real quick. I would say this. I think our crowd played a role, and here's why. Because when we made a run, you could feel the energy. When they made a run, the energy didn't die. Like they stuck with us. They helped us, in that second half. So I think that was a factor as well. Okay, last one for these guys, and let them get out of here. We got a quick turnaround.
You've been through some tough times here, and this is a different February than what you've experienced. And I just wonder, coming off of a win like this and the way you've been playing lately, what does this feel like for you right now to think that after a lot of tough losses, you're on the other side of some of that right now?
It's just a blessing. I just do what I do each and every day. Just keep putting in work and just keep God first. And just to get excited for every win. I mean, I just knew eventually, me keep trusting in God and keep putting in first, something good gonna happen eventually. So it was tough. A lot of crying, a lot of frustration, but just keep putting my head down, keep my faith first, and just keep putting in work and believing my teammates and coaching staff, and good things just happen.
All right, let's get them out. If you need me, if not. Only one more with Steve. All right, you guys go get cleaned up. Get ready, get some rest.
It's pretty simple. You have guys that are kind of the heroes and everything, but everybody had their fingerprints on this, like Quez Glover getting on the floor, Sean Stewart getting on the floor, Royal with 11 rebounds.
Evan Mahaffey had some really good possessions.
Exactly. I mean, they're playing defense, giving up 5 and 6 inches on some of these guys from Maryland. Just how do you typify this across the board that everybody that went in there comes out of this with, I had a hand in one of the biggest wins, your first ranked win here, but one of the bigger wins of the year.
Yeah, well, it's like you're a coach, Steve, because I literally said the exact same thing in the locker room, and we talked about how just like everybody had an impact, especially there in the last, we'll call it 25 minutes of the game, and you can look back to specific plays really for each guy they weren't necessarily right, like hero big time shots or like it was tough energy plays, and I thought. That's who we are. That's what this program is about. It's about being tough. It's about being together. That's where it starts. Our guys have embraced that. And, Yvonne too. Yvonne had, he had a big block there at one point. Everybody did something. And that's, you need that this time of year. There's no question.
You didn't have Aaron. When did you know you wouldn't have Aaron, and how did that impact your prep for this game?
Today we didn't know. He's been under the weather, been trying to fight to do everything. Like our performance team has been pushed to the limit this year. With it's an illness. It just it's going around. Some people have had it. It's affected us certainly these last two games, and not the ideal games for it to affect you with the size of the last two opponents. But we found out we felt like maybe there's a chance he'd miss some practice, felt like there was a chance he'd be able to play. And we're anticipating him playing and just couldn't quite get back. Yeah. I think, we felt like and Evan Mahaffey practiced really well for the last 2 days. And we felt like, okay, that right there, he's going to need to help us more. And he played 20 minutes and was really good. He was really good. And, we felt like Yvonne needed to be ready and Austin needed to be ready. We had hoped, we just hadn't been able to quite practice. We'd like to be able to play multiple, maybe Sean and Aaron together, Sean and Yvonne together. We just haven't quite been able to practice it with some of the illness and stuff we've had lately. And so it's something we're trying to find time to work on because we feel like we're going to need it at some point to give us a little bit more size. But, Devin, I was just really impressed with Devin. He could have very easily gotten frustrated, and we know he plays bigger than he is. It's clear by his rebounds. He could have easily got frustrated, but how he has come so far, what a mature performance from a guy who clearly wasn't his best offensively, but to impact the game the way he did was just, I think, speaks volumes. So it was a committee thing, Adam. We just knew, guys, we just got to step up. We're down a guy. We got to step up. We had to do the same thing, at Illinois and did for a lot of the game. Go ahead. Yeah, you're good.
I don't know how much you think this play factored into the overall results of the game, but Bruce's block in the second half when he kind of chased it down and pinned it. I think you guys went on to score back-to-back possessions after that. I guess my question is, do you think that Bruce Thornton gets enough attention and I guess recognition by not just people here, but nationwide for how good of a player he is?
No, I don't. I don't think he does. I don't think he does offensively. I don't think he does defensively. The way he impacts winning. I mean, there's times we're asking him to guard the other team's best player and do it against. I mean, there's some phenomenal guards in this league. So I thought that was a huge play. I kind of smiled at him and was like, man, that was a nice block. I don't remember. Does he have his first one in league play this year? I'm sure someone can find that out, but it was a big one because that's a momentum changing play. And it's who Bruce is, not a shot blocker necessarily, right? But he's a never give up on a play guy. He could have very easily, he played 40 minutes. He could have very easily said, hey, I'm going to let him lay this in and conserve an ounce of energy. But he sprinted back and made a great play. So I don't think he does. I think I've said this before. You guys know how I feel about him as far as, where he ranks nationally as a guard. And, but I get to see it every day. So I'm spoiled in that regard because he practices like he plays, guys. That's the part that I think is so special about him. That's why he can play as many minutes as he did. I mean, I didn't really, the intent was for him not to play 40 minutes, but he practices really hard. So he works hard to be in great condition and takes care of his body. And yeah, that was a big time block. Was that his first block? Did we decide? Second, first?
Yeah, well, the last 3 times.
There's a stat. There's a stat right there.
Eric was ready with that one.
Yeah.
Not a Big Ten play, but he did against Kentucky. That was pretty good.
You guys need anything else from me? All right, appreciate it, guys.